Hello and welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode on Running Contacts, we're looking at wing wraps, not off the dog walk, but when you get to an obstacle beyond the dog walk, so in this case, a jump. Now this is why I have different cues for tight turns, wing wrap turns, off a dog walk as off a jump. Because suppose we had it here and your dog needs to turn tightly around that wing. A dog's going to come down this dog walk, and if their cues are the same, for both turning tightly on this wing and turning tightly around the dog walk, then if we say our tight turn cue, which was on this one, it was steady, then they should turn tightly off the dog walk. And if they don't, then that shows that cue is not taught correctly. So this is why we have different cues. Oops. Because that is a check. Different cue. Steady, turn tight here. Check means drive to that jump, take that wing and turn tight right. So we're going to look at wing wrap turns tightly towards us. Then we're going to have to discuss things like rear crosses in another episode about turning them away from us. So at this stage, I also want to point out that I have bespoke cues for left and right tight turns. So if I want her to turn tightly right, it's check. And can you see we've just done Vivas? Check. Good choice. So we just got to refresh that one. It is hard when you're doing verbals, you're constantly having to work on discriminations. And you know, it is something you have to constantly prove, and if you spend a lot of time on one thing, you will find that they start to revert to that. So I'm just going to make sure she's got that check. Good girl, get it. Now, check means turn right. If I want her to turn left, that's loop. And she should do it on a verbal with me stood here. Loop. Good girl, get it? So she should do it no matter where I am. So we'll try that again with a... Yeah, she said, I figured you were going to do that. So now, because you decided to predict me, I'm going to check you out. Loop. That's an in, lovely. Loop. Swift. Seriously, she said, I've done loads of round the backs in the last 2 videos, and I'm just like, I just do round the backs. Loop. Honestly, Swift, come here. Loop. Good girl. It's just one of them things, and it's good that she's demonstrating this, that they do get in a patterning habit. If you've done one thing a lot, they go, that's what you must want, and they stop to tune out the words. They're not. That's when you can test your cues and say, do they actually understand them, or was it just a case that they've done them lots so they think that's what they need? So what we're going to now do is we're going to proof her to turn tightly towards me on a check. So when I say check, it should mean take the jump, turn tightly round the ring to the right, back towards me. Doesn't mean go around the back. Okay. Check. Good choice. She listened then and she thought about it. I think it also does depend, good girl, at what point you give the cue. So if you give the cue soon enough, they have time to think about it. If you're late with the cue, or there's not a lot of time, like when you're working quite close to a jump, then they can already start to be thinking what they want to do and they're not listening at that point. They go, oh, she wants me to do this, and they stop listening. Obviously, as you get more experience with a dog and you work on that, we should be able to get past that. But certainly when they're learning, they can be a bit prone to that. So I find it's important to always think about where you are. Did I give them enough warning of the cue before they did it? And was I giving them enough distance, or was I so late with the cue they'd already made up their mind? So what we can actually do is I can hold her by the collar. Swift says, start off. And I can say, check. And she's more confident. Good girl, because she's listening to the word before I let her make a choice. That's all it is. She was making that choice. She figured, I've done this so much, I know what to do. She wasn't actually listening anymore. It's a good example of when you have to really think about your training. If you've done a lot of one thing, your dog just decides that's what they stop listening to the words, and then you have to mix it up a little bit. Right, so let's see if we can do it from here. So we're going to go from the contact, and we're going to go check, and she's going to do straight around the back again, because that is what we've just done. Come here, Swiftits. So I'm going to hold her by the collar and go check. Right, we're not sure now. We're getting confusion. Okay, let me step here. Ready? Check, check, check. Good girl. This is what you might get, because they're going, well, I'm on a dog walk and now you're asking me to do this thing where I've got to go and I'm not going straight, I've got to turn. And you can see she's going, oh, I'm not really sure, I've just done all them round the backy things. It's just, you know, another level of learning. And so we're going to take it steady. Clearly I'm not going to get her as far back as I was getting her with the round the backs, because she's obviously not ready for that. That is fine. And I'm going to hold that collar and make sure she knows where she's going. Good girl. And it's all about learning. Ready? Check, check, check. Good girl. That was a rubbish throw. Get it? So that's starting to look better. She's starting to listen, but she'll also start to pattern this. And so we need to be aware of that as well. Okay, check, check, check. Good girl. Now, when I'm doing these things and I'm teaching something like this, it's quite good to be teaching this discriminations by going back to something they know really well. But you have to work it carefully, because sometimes if I now go do a go, she may now not be able to do the checks. And if I was to now do those Vivas because she really been wanting to do them, if I now go back and do one of them and then ask her to do a check, I'll lose the check again. It's all about working out where your dog is at the level of discrimination. Go! And what's strong and what not. And ideally we're going to work on all these cues so they're as strong as her go cue, which is where she heard the word go and she goes, put the power on, go for it. It's just one of those things, and as I said, you will work through this constantly for your dog's lifetime. So now we gave her a go cue, we're going to go back to the check. When I'm teaching this, I'll be looking to do one side tight turns in one session and then do the other side tight turns towards me in that session. Now, by that I mean I would actually switch sides, so they're actually turning towards me. I don't want them to think to themselves that check always means turn towards me and loop means away or whatever. We've got to make sure they understand that it means turn there no matter where I am. So I'd be teaching check on this side and in a separate session loop when I'm still on that side. One more time, lovely, because I can see you're getting tired. Ready? Check, 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 check. Nice stuff. So her confidence is coming. She's getting the idea. Good girl. With this, there's not a lot of things we're going to do with the jump here. We can obviously shuffle it a little, but we don't need to do it too much because the dog's got to take the bar first. We can't change the position that much. What we can do is increase the distance. Make it up to 10 meters. Good girlie, you were fab. Also, obviously adding in the full length of the dog walk, making sure that we are set back or out laterally so that they've got to do it completely independently. So all these little things, these nuances that we can work through. So that's teaching the tight wing wrap towards us. Next video, we'll look at teaching it away from us. So I hope you've enjoyed this Everyday Canines video, and if you have, you might subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon. You'll get notifications of when new videos come out. And you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.